Hello, Thierry.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Clear and loud. Hello. Is everything fine?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was a mistake on the schedule of this presentation. I think it's more at 2 o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah, it starts at 2 o'clock.
Okay, so it was written 1:30.
Ah, really? On in the program?
Yeah, somewhere
Okay.
in different mails I received.
Okay.
That's okay, no problem.
Do you want to test something?
Maybe my camera.
Ah, yeah. Let's see. Do you have some slides or
No,
just talking?
no, just talking. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Then it's fine.
Okay, I think so. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Then
so we are waiting for the start, the real start.
Yeah,
it?
I think the others they will come maybe at 2.
Okay.
Good. See you then.
See you next.
Hello. Do you want to make a quick test with the presentation?
Check.
Martin.
Did you get the video from Izabella?
No. You sent her one.
I've sent her a link of a video that I would like to start my presentation with. It's a 6-minute video of my act that suits perfectly and is self-explanatory. Shall I provide you with the link now?
Yes. Or you can do it by yourself to start the video.
Excellent. Yes, I will see if this is possible.
Or you can send it to me and then I'm the backup, and when it doesn't work, in your case, I can start it.
Excellent. So let's see.
You put it in the chat or per mail?
I'm just going to open the link.
Yeah.
Because it's a hidden link, so I always need to call it up again.
Ah.
All right. And also I have this is the link. And also I have provided Izabella with 2 links that the people who are interested in can look into later. It's the podcast and it's an interview. Shall I also put these in the chat room now, or shall we do it after the roundtable?
You can put it in and maybe you say something afterwards. That
All
is
right.
there.
Then I will provide it after I've shown the video, because otherwise it might be confusing for the people.
Yeah, that's true.
And the video you like me to, can you play it for us, or how do we do it?
You can start. The thing is that I think you're talking, or you're just showing the video and then you talk.
I will shortly introduce myself, and then of course I would like to show the video.
Do you know how you can share the screen?
I think so, yes, but I would prefer to use the option to directly share it on the YouTube link, because that's more clean in the upstream.
Ah, okay. So you think you say to the audience that they have to look by themselves in the web? Ah.
I think that would be cleaner, but there is usually an option also in Zoom to watch a video together, but I don't know if it's possible. Otherwise, I will just share my screen and we will watch it over my upstream. Yeah.
I think this is the easiest way. Otherwise, maybe you lost some audience in the web.
Okay.
So Izabella, we can wait a little bit more. We can start.
I think Chris Ziegler missing.
Okay, because I don't know
No,
if
Chris
I have
is
all the
Pablo Ventura, Martin Riedel, hi, and Thierry Poquet, hi. So Pablo Ventura is missing now.
It's missing. There is someone missing. Okay.
maybe at Olivier, shall we have a look if the video that I'm going to share is going to run smoothly, and then we can decide if we do it over screen sharing or with the link I provide.
Okay, you want to try it now?
Yeah, I would just like to try it while we're waiting for the other people, and then
Yeah, that's fine.
If you share the screen, don't forget to also check mark the video optimization. There's two, one for sound and one for video. Don't forget that.
Thank you very much. That's a great advice. I've just seen the two boxes in the bottom. Okay. So I would like to share this, and I hope it runs smooth. That's important.
It looks good here.
Okay.
Yes, very good. Yeah.
Right,
Okay, looks good.
then we are going to have an okay transmission of this video. That's just important for me, because if we cannot enjoy the experience, then it's a pity.
Yeah. Same for here. I have problems with my internet. Sometimes it just stops every 3 minutes. So if it happens, please tell me. It should be okay.
I see that Pablo is here.
Ah, yes. Hello.
We can start, yeah? Olivier, is this okay to start? Yeah.
From my side, it's fine. You can start, please.
Okay. So welcome in our roundtable, which is entitled Creative Process and Collaborations. And we have 4 artists: Thierry Poquet, stage director from France; Martin Riedel, circus artist from Germany; Chris Ziegler, also artist but also assistant professor from Germany; and Pablo Ventura, choreographer and media artist from Switzerland. We propose the schedule like this, that we present our artists, their biographies, and after they will have about 10-15 minutes to present their projects, and after we have maybe 1 or 2 questions with Erika, and after we will have this time with the questions of the audience. So I start with Thierry Poquet. We met during his residency in Grenoble in France for his new project, Terre Rare, Ray Lands, and which will be presented in 2022 at the Hexagon Théâtre in Milan. And Thierry, you are theater director of the French company Eolisange, and you are also tireless explorer of transversality in all its forms. From street to circus, from contemporary music to opera, not forgetting the text, theater and contemporary art installations, you have been building a multidisciplinary career for 30 years. The common thread of your work is based on a curiosity for the diversity of the territories of creation that are available to artists today, with a wide range of an undeniable taste for risk. Recent achievements include Agatha Kairos, Augenblick Dream, the Opera of the Pooh, the Cri de l'Oie, La Langue dans la Crâne. You collaborated in 2007 as a director on stage, co-director and artistic coordinator for the European Project Culture 2000 with the opera St. Kilda, The Island of the Birdman, which received in 2008 an award in Glasgow. And Chris Chris Ziegler, you are a director, performer, artist, and architect working in the performing and digital arts. From 2013 to 2021, you hold a position of Professor of Interactive Media at Arizona State University. In May this year, you returned back to Europe to work in digital theater productions. Since 2002, you have been an associated artist at the Center for Art and Media, Karlsruhe. You were a lecturer, researcher, and developer for the Artistic Research Laboratory SynLab at the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne in Switzerland. Your work in various research projects at the International Choreographic Center in Amsterdam or at the University of Utrecht, for instance. Your teaching assignments have you taken to the Hochschule für Gestaltung, Zentrum für Kunst und Mediatechnology, ZKM Karlsruhe, or in Concordia University, Montreal, for example. And in 2001, you received the Junge Kunst und Neue Medien Award in Munich. And in 2004, the Kunstpreis für Darstellende Kunst Baden-Württemberg. I am sorry for my German, but yes, there were also others awards nomination. So that's the most important point of your career.
And I will present Martin Riedel, who is a circus artist, and in particular is specialized in a Chinese mask. Is your specialty, and he studied it a long time in different places to master this acrobatic form. Can I say it? I don't know if I'm right. And since 2015, he's been working with the master on a robot. So I don't say anything more because if not, I will spoil your introduction. And I will only add that you won the Cirque du Soleil Innovation Award in 2018 for this new props that you invented in collaboration with Ulic Robotics. Okay, fine. Okay, and then Pablo Ventura, who is a dancer and choreographer. I don't see him. Yes, I see him. It's much better when we see each other. And he started his career in the 80s, and with his Ventura Dance company, with his own company. And since the 90s, he started to work with computer-aided contemporary dance media works. So he is really specialized in this field. He created different productions, installations, video dances, in collaboration with software designers, video artists, electronic music composers, and robot artists. He won many awards for his He has a long experience in collaborating with scientists and after artists of different fields work with the technologies. So I think this roundtable will be very interesting because we have different backgrounds and also different generations. I think it would be very interesting to see how you developed your work with robots in particular. And I think that it's Thierry Poquet who will start with this panorama, or let's say, of your work, just to be in concrete, real relationship with your work and to discover it as well for us. So Thierry, okay, I can see you.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you hear me?
Yes, very good.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation, Izabella and Erika. I'm happy to be with you people. I have, since 10 years, I have started to work with scientists. First, a long way with astrophysicists, then biologists, botanics, and since 5 years with robotic and artificial intelligence. We're working on a cyber opera called Where Earth. It's a fiction, a parable, which leads dystopia and utopia. Dystopia, Earth is at the very end of its mineral, animal, and vegetal resources. The title is Rare Earths. Humanity is looking for cobalt, dysprosium, and all kinds of things you can find on your smartphones and computers. Humanity is looking for resources, but it's also rare earth in an initiatic and symbolic values. We use it to go deep down into the darkest deeps of itself. Rare earth is also revisiting the Promethean myth. We are currently living one version of the Promethean myth. On the one hand, the fascination with the increasingly powerful tools that technology offers us, which satisfies our desire for progress. On the other hand, our initial substrata, the Earth, Gaia, begins to crumble under our disrespectful manipulations. And we are at such a critical threshold that wisdom would suggest immediate degrowths. It's a cyber opera. The show takes place in a future where robots are common. I was smiling this morning looking at the drawing that shows Hiroshi, where each human has his own robot dedicated to a special task. The story, geological expedition involving humans and robots, has fate at the far reaches of the north and ends into a carnage. Two investigators, mandated by the sponsor of the expedition, seek to establish the facts. The cyborg, Herodot, is still operational, and he gradually reaches the proponents of the drama before generating a nod to the living. It ends into an utopia. The coldness of the algorithm used by the investigators, the way they create a scapegoat, revolts the cyborg, which is always led by the two robot laws. So our cyborg creates a virus able to dissolve the two IA and gives life to avatars of mineral, vegetal, and animal existences. Like you said, Izabella, it will be created on April 2022 in Mélan, near Grenoble. On stage, we'll be able to see 4 musicians, to hear 2 voiceovers, to see a trio of actors-singers, 1 cyborg, led by an acrobat, several robotic units, and multiple immaterial forms. This show has been starting the reflection, the writing, since 5 years. We start by 3 years cooperation in a workshop in Mélan, art science workshop, and about 25 scientists participate to the elaboration of the play. Lots of discussion, of a meeting in laboratories. You were there, Izabella, you can testify. And so we worked with CEA in Grenoble and MII, which is a multidisciplinary Institute for Artificial Intelligence. And with them, we talk a lot about IE and ethic. How IE is used now time, in what purpose, what laws, what are the limits of IE in our society, and how to fight against GAFA and the abusive use of data, which is really a preoccupation of CIE. We worked also with University of Grenoble-Alpes about neurocognition, to feed a robot you need to know very well human beings, expressions, how humans communicate between themselves. And also we worked about the way which whom neural networks dreams. How now we are able to avoid what we called the catastrophic forgetting. Means that one day one computer can learn something and lose it next time when you put other data in it. For example, French the first day, Dutch the second day, and the third day there is nothing more because everything is mixed up. So we use that to create memories of human characters' faces with video. We create the Cortex Explorer, which is an encephalic graphic interface with the brain of the cyborg. Means you can see how the waves, les ondes, how the ondes, okay, of the brain are moving through the thoughts of the characters of the cyborg. And we worked with a graphic artist called Jan and Gemma, which is really, really good. We work also with University of Lille in north of France, of a device called Riedel, which is spatial augmented reality, which locates on stage numeric holograms which evaluate movement and sound when actors pass through them. So you have a room with lots of holograms, but if you don't touch them, they don't appear. You need to interfere with them for their appearance. Since the beginning, we start to work with a startup called Humano, which is based in Lyon, in France, which supplies robots with softwares. So we start working with Pepper now and all the family. But the French lobbies about social robots fell down. So no more market, no more way of developing that for families, for enterprise, you know, to say hello to the children at the entrance and let people buy. So its business skills to software was leaded for embodied AE in computers and smartphones. and auto-supervised intelligence, which is really the point which is reached now with EA. So we're working with them and with CEA and NII about an application which will follow the show with a new generation of IE avatar. So, you know, it's complete. It was very fine for us to be in touch with such interesting people. I loved since 10 years to be in touch with science, to write my shows, because we are talking about the where is the world now, and how we can reactivate myth from older world with the experience of our time. So it's sure that myth as Frankenstein or things like that are very important for us. Okay.
Thank you very much, Thierry.
Welcome.
Yes, we will talk about your project a little bit later. So now I invite Chris to present his project or his work, please.
Thank you for the invitation. So before I forget, I would like to say that I had overlaps with Pablo Ventura's work. I was also invited to work with him. It was really a pleasure to work with Pablo. We'll talk about it later, maybe. And also with a future collaboration with Gunter, maybe. We are working on a project which I might also want to introduce now, if there's time. Let me just show and share my screen now to start. Okay, so I will start actually with, do you see me? Just to share, is it all fine? I just not sure if
Before it was fine.
Okay,
We can
good.
try it again.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll start with also yesterday there was also improvisation technology mentioned, the production at the Frankfurt Ballet, which was actually my first project finishing my studies as a media artist and architect. And here you can see actually my attempts to start to develop something which is maybe when you say we have seen lots of robots or robotic stage robots this morning. I would say what I'm interested in is robotic stages, or more or less actually starting with, and you see that here with the idea of trying to immerse movement and track movement and make the stage more dynamic and make it active, actually responding to what happens on stage. And it was basically for me to start with dance. And here you see Irene Bürkle. She's a German dancer from Frankfurt Ballet, and we developed a stage system which breathes movement, which actually reacts to the physical presence of a dancer. And the second stage of this development was with the Dance Academy in the Weimar Kunstfest. I was invited by Nike Wagner to work with the 3 classes of the Palooka Dance School. And we developed a really, I would say, a surround sound and also light stage with 40 dancers on stage during a research period of 4 weeks actually. And we performed after a research period also 3 performances. On the Dance Academy, it was 2007. Actually, the first start with Riedel, I forgot, was 2005. So it's a whole series of research, which I did since almost 15 years. And here you see then the next stage is Forest 3, where I was working in this part with Ted Stoffer on a robotic stage, which I come soon to tell you how this works. And the final project, actually also including AI and chatbots and emotional face tracking, was Odo, Nobody Lives Here, a project which was developed at ZKM in 2020, just before the COVID epidemic hit us. And we just were able to show a reduced version in Munich 2020 in September. And this project actually is basically a robotic stage in many So there's a personal representation of an entity, which is a chatbot, which is a huge, I would say, robotic sculpture, which is not anthropomorphic. That's something which I wanted to avoid, to identify, to have an interaction with the audience with, because the audience can only look at a stage robot, but actually it can be involved into an environment which is like this. It's actually a landscape of lights which can mechanically changed and also change lighting. So what we have actually, the robotic body was here actually a landscape which was established by 30 lights, which are robotic controlled, mechanically moving, and also visible from all sides. And at the end of this actually piece, which was kind of a travel through different planets of imagination, it was important for me that the audience could physically interact with this robotic stage themselves. It's not just looking at a robot which represents the performance. I always try to also get into the stage that the audience can talk, interact, and also physically interact with what happens on stage. I just wanted to show you the video here, hope it's working with all these research, which you have seen just in images, just to see also an image speak louder than words. So let's go. So this is the performance with Christina, and this is just one excerpt of it, of the piece, where I think the best would see how the stage looks at movement at the body and breathes and amplifies movement. Here, it was actually just a video zoom of a tracking camera, and her movement was just amplifying. The movement was amplified with lights. The same amplification happens here with the Palooka performance. So the motion was tracked with 2 motion cameras and transposed into the stage, which was breathing a motion and through light. The next step is the research in America and Arizona, which I was able to build this stage. And the first thing I tried also to relate, and this is an avoidance algorithm where the presence of the performer is actually letting the lights go up to kind of have a dialogue, a physical dialogue with the performer on stage. And the second is the sensor environment, where somehow the body parts should be related to the architecture. This is an idea I'm still trying to also pursue. And then this is a collaboration with Christopher and Sayaka Kaya, his wife, in ZKM, just 2018. This is just to show you that one tried to expand the movement of her talking about dancing Medea, really crazy dance. But this is just excerpts, I can go into detail. Here is this machine which I developed just recently at ZKM, which is an emotional tracker, and also trying to get a sense of where people are on stage to have a social environment. And this is the piece actually.
Hello world. My name is Odell. I live here on stage. Welcome to my body. This is my body. Wait. I can connect you. Move the line up and down. You said house. House, of course. A man fell to the earth. His plane crashed in the middle of the desert. I am thirsty. You are my pilot now. What shall we do? Search for water or fix the plane. Push water to the center of the stage. More water. Great job. Yes. Let us build a landscape together, a new planet of your ever-beating heart. Move inside. your arms. Build hills and valleys. Let us build a landscape together.
So maybe I can just leave that image here for now, because this is my key frame, I would say, of my initiatives, that theater becomes all interactive, and theater is a physical art form, and actually also people represent with their physical presence an entity we can have a dialogue with. And this is actually for me the key to think of robotics. But there's another idea which I would like to conclude. This is the new project I'm trying to do with Gunter and other collaborators with the VW Cultural Foundation in Germany. This is actually the idea of Odo was actually a tragic chatbot which had a dilemma. So he was not able to actually experience the world like we do, like humans do. He was offline and trying to communicate about stories he was inventing. So there was actually a kind of a dialogue about a hybrid story, which I wanted to have a dialogue with the audience with, but it was not really a full dialogue. So the dialogue was not on, I would say, based on creativity. It was only choice. So we have a dilemma. For example, the pilot crashes into the desert. And what shall we do? Shall we first repair the airplane or search for water to survive? So these are kind of these dilemma stories where theater lives from. But the actual creativity of a robot or a robotic or an intelligent environment could be pushed much further. And with Gunter LOESEL, I'm trying to do the next step. So it was inspired by Nobody Lives Here. But actually, we're trying to do Anna now, the I would say empathic theater stage, developing something which is in German a story improvisation with an empathic feedback loop. And this is important to know that actually there is kind of an effective architecture. You can see on the left lower side, the effective architecture research of Leonid Berov, and a scientist I met at a kind of a workshop of the Hanover Art Endowments of the Arts. And he suggested that we can develop Odo further into an empathic system which has its own emotions, which actually leans on the emotions of the audience. So there's emotion recognition through phrase checking, which we know, and speech to text, text to speech, and sentiment analysis of the story, which we want to do. And the improvisation of the story is actually completely starting from scratch. So there is no given story as we deliver. So we're starting from scratch with the audience to go into creative interaction. And important for that is that we have certain conditions on the stage, like the protection of a photo booth. So we want to have a theater piece for one person, basically. So lights and sound and the atmosphere plays a role in this idea. So this is the research we did in America with emotional recognition. I don't have to go there anymore, but actually this is the new part of the empathic robot, which we're trying to build, which as actually just an environment is not really an object or a humanoid an actor anymore. And this has, this is the affect architecture, just to show a little excerpt. And we're working basically with GPT-3, but there's also in new developments of GPT-4. So we're interested to see how we can prompt a story into a good or bad development. But basically, I can conclude here just to show the collaborators. This is Gunter LOESEL, also me, Leonid Berov, and Ilya Mirski. And I think with this, I would like to conclude now and continue to the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris, for this very interesting presentation, short but very rich. So we can start with the presentation of Martin Riedel. Yes, that's it, Erika.
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yes, yes, very good.
So thanks, first of all, also for inviting me and having me here. I consider myself as just a beginner of all of this. Thanks, Thierry, for getting us into your world of the robotic opera. It was very insightful, and I'm already now very blessed that I have this opportunity to share this meeting with you, and also a very big thanks to Chris, because what I've seen opened up a lot of things for me as well in terms of creative work. Yeah, I'm a circus acrobat, and I consider it as almost as a craft, like a carpenter. So we have to practice and we have to train and work. And currently I'm in Norway teaching in a circus school that I'm taking care of since 5 years, and it's a pleasure to share my knowledge. I think it's really important, as you all do. But tomorrow I'm already heading to Riyadh, to Saudi Arabia with Cirque du Soleil, because we're going to continue a show called Messi 10, where I'm going to perform on Leonie, one of the 3 robots that Jülich has. And it's artistically not my most favorite project, and everybody knows that, but it's the greatest stage I have, because I can play on a 20 by 20 meter stage that has all the opportunities that I need as a performer to use the full potential of this machine. I'm not going to say much more. I'm going to show a video of the act that we won the award of the Cirque du Soleil and Cirque du Mans in 2018. And you can get, I think, the best impression by this. Yes, so far so good. Was the transmission okay? Like, could you see everything or?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, so this is the project that Ulrich Karlert and I have been researching on since 2015, but actually Ulrich had the vision already 10 years before. But at this time, the controller, not the robot, but the controller with the servos was as big as my apartment. So he just couldn't start making it transportable. The machine we're working with is an industrial robot from Yaskawa, from a robot company. And this particular device is used in car industry. It's a welding robot. And it has a workload from approximately 280 kilograms. So this is what it can move. And when we started with this project, the biggest challenge was, of course, first to create a proper human-machine interface. So to find a tool that is safe for me to use, because in the moment you're too close to the robot, you could get squeezed in and there are a lot of dangers. And also we had to develop a certain working protocol. That means how are we actually going to research or try movements, not knowing how fast the robot is moving and what it does to me. So there were a lot of steps before that. The result that you actually see, the pole that you see on the robot broke 5 times in the research process. So there has been also a lot of material research involved. And now we're using a UHT 800 carbon fiber that is the only carbon fiber that comes before military use. So we wanted to use another carbon fiber, but that is not allowed to be used for civil needs. So just to give you a little bit of insight how deep we had to dig in certain corners to actually get a 7-minute performance. And how I would call it is like pioneering work and walking into new snow. Like if you imagine you have really powdery snow and you have to make a step, you're sinking in, and the problem is you're not only sinking in, the next step you make, you also have to pull your leg out again. And it's very easy for the next ones to take the path, but for us it was quite a heavy starting point. Technically, other than that, the machine weighs at 3.5 tons. It's very heavy. There's not many stages that actually give us the possibility to work on. It needs a 63 ampere electricity, and throughout the last years, I made the full certification as a programmer for Yaskawa, and also made the certification for the FSU unit, because in Circus Roncalli, we were like downscaled to 9 meters, the same as you see in this show. The safety issue is very simple to explain. The robot is technically able to go further into the audience. And of course, by the robotic law, this is totally forbidden. Like the moment the robot can leave the cell, it means death. And just in theory that this is possible, you all know that if something is possible, that it could happen, it will happen at one point. So we had to get the FSU unit, the first safety unit. That's a chip that lies on top of the other chip. And I made all the teaching education process. So now we can make sure that the robot is not able to leave the space, and it's by robot law also permitted as valid as a physical cage. And that was the only opportunity for us to perform so close to an audience. So just to take some fear away from you, the robot can never actually touch the people, but it can touch me. By robot law, that's also very complicated. In Sweden, there's a company working with an ABB robot. They were completely not permitted anymore to perform. Now they are again. But the law says that the programmer is allowed to work in the cell. Since I have a full certification as a programmer, I'm allowed to work in the cell and to perform in the cell. And what is the most important thing for safety reasons to mention is that the ULIC is always on the teach pad. So it's not a fully automated system. We're having sequences that the robot runs. It stops on a certain point. I give a cue, like a wink with my eye or wink with my foot, and then the next sequence is going to be played. Within the sequence, I have also I can make a call. I can say I cut the programmation. Then the person who's on the teach pad can always press the emergency button. because I know what the robot does, but the audience doesn't. And you could have a drunken person in the audience entering the stage, entering the cell. You could have a dog running into it. If we do street performances, you could have a light falling down. So there's many external factors. And since there's a lot of human errors involved that we are not able to control, we cannot leave those to a robotic system. So we use a human system to control it. Basically like a roller coaster, if somebody starts to scream, the person on the roller coaster presses the emergency button. And this is a bit like just to get around it. My biggest or my deepest insight or experience with this machine in the end was the following, and that's also how I concluded, is if you want to be able to work with a machine, you have to become a machine. This is all I can say from my perspective as an acrobat. It sounds a bit sad, and actually it might be, because we were in a research process and we were programming the act, and I was running it every day, and every day I was very mad that the programmer said, you cannot change the speeds, you cannot put it a centimeter further, it's 1 centimeter higher here. Leave me one programmation for 2 days and I can adjust it and I can learn it. And he said after 4 days, Martin, I haven't touched anything for 5 days. And then I had to realize that it was me who was different every day a little bit. And that was, that actually kills your ego. Like you, as a 25-year-old established circus performer, you realize that how little you are and how much different you are in the same way. Because if you work in a couple or with another partner, the partner has a good day, has a bad day, and he can adjust to you. But the robot just does the same every time. And that's very tough. We are not using any AI systems. We're not using recognition systems. Also, no safety systems that use external cameras. We are in good relation with Yaskawa. The problem is the moment somebody would enter the cell and an automatic system would stop the robot. Imagine the machine runs with 100 kilometers an hour with the pole and me on the pole, and suddenly it stops because somebody enters the cell. I will be projected with 100 kilometers an hour, and probably 70 kilograms flying into the audience is then more dangerous. So we keep it in a way very simple, to be honest. And yeah, coming to an end of the presentation of what we did is that all this only works because we are always putting the safety first, and we developed a very clear safety protocol how we proceed in the work, and we are not giving the robot kind of the voice. We see it as a tool, and maybe it's not artistically not always as interesting, but to perform in a way on a safe level, that is how we can manage. And so far nothing happened, so we must be doing something right in that way. Yeah, and anyway, we're coming later to questions. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Martin. Now it's Pablo Ventura's turn to present his work.
Yes, hello. Let me just share the screen. So can you all see this? Okay. So I'm going to talk about my works with robots and how I came to work with robots in the first place, from the point of view of a dancer, and intellectually from the point of view of a choreographer. I worked with 2 robots in particular in the year 2001 with a KUKA robot in a production called Zone, and in the year 2005 in a production called Fabrica with a robot that I commissioned with the robot artist Louis-Philippe Demers to build it from scratch. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my background, how I ended up working with robots in the first place. And that is that I was working as a choreographer and a dancer 20 years before I came in touch with a software for choreography. Because after 20 years of working, you tend to end up repeating your patterns of movements and your habits and all the training that you have had as a dancer. You know, you actually, what you do is you go into a studio and you start showing these patterns of movements, which is like a loop. You can't get out of it, of these habits. So, and you pass on these movements to the dancers. So in 1997, I started working with a software for choreography called Lifeforms at the time, precisely to break this habit and to try and find new combinations or possibilities of human movement. You know. So I started in a piece. It was the first time called Deus Ex Machina, which I used this software, and it was. And if I explain a little bit how the software works, is that if you see this figure here, this human figure, every color is an articulation that you can manipulate, and then you create a position, you know, and then you go to the next position, and you manipulate the articulations of the body. In this case, of a professional dancer, you know, it has the limitations of the articulations are programmed that it resembles that of the possibilities of a professional ballet dancer, let's say. So you go from position to position, working out different positions, and then what the software does is to work out the transition from one position to the next. So then I built a whole palette of libraries, which of animations, and then with these animations, I actually it kind of moves like this way. You know, there's of course it was very limited at the time. You know, compared to a professional dancer, this puppet figure was very limited. You know? But with the time, I built a palette of positions which I could segment body parts and paste them again together to create movement possibilities that the human brain would not be able to figure out. A choreographer wouldn't be able to figure out this type of moving using the normal brain or the brain of a choreographer or the body of a choreographer. So that this was in Deus Ex Machina was the first time I investigated with this possibility, and we could only do a few sequences of the dancers learned how this animation moved. Yeah, and then I went a step further 3 years later and built a whole choreography only using the software to create the movement patterns, and that was in MadGod 2001, which was also the thematizing was inspired on the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, where the computer takes over control of the spacecraft. In this case, the computer totally took over the control of the choreography and of the dance production. And then I presented this performance very successfully in Hellerau in Dresden. And as a result of which I got commissioned to create a performance for a robot and dancers. And then in the next year, I started working with the artist group Robot Lab, who were based at the time in ZKM in Karlsruhe. And they were working already since years with industrial KUKA industrial robots. Yeah. So we set upon figuring out what we do together. So the approach I took is that I didn't want it to create a narrative work, with humans, and robot type of narrative on stage, but to investigate the movement possibilities of a robot juxtaposed to the movement possibilities of a human body, you know, of a professional dancer. So in order to choreograph the robot, we decided on creating instead of the figure of the avatar of the human body, to create an avatar of the Poquet robot itself, and to be able to choreograph it like I was used to choreographing the human figure of the Lifeform software. So they created an avatar of the Poquet robot with all the limitations that the joints of the robot has. Yeah. And then the second approach was not a narrative story behind the dance piece, but just to put juxtapose on stage, on the same space, the robot and the dancers. And there was six dancers and 2 robots at the time. Yeah. And then it arose who should be the protagonist of this piece. It was a commission work for a robot, and it was a full evening piece work. It was 1 hour long. So we had these discussions on this. Robot Lab, obviously, they wanted to have the robots in front of the stage and the dancers behind, and they said, no way, it's a dance piece, and you can't have the robot stealing the show for a whole hour, you know, while the dancers in the background are just you know, dancing figures, you know, accompanying the core to the robot. So the inspiration of Sony was also this idea of man-machine. No? The theme of robotic comes from way back from Metropolis, from Fritz Lang. Was already the theme of the robot was thematized with a very beautiful robot on the film. There's an iconic figure, and on the other hand, the factory workers who are dehumanized. Yeah. So this piece has a lot of influence or inspiration from this idea of the mechanization and dehumanization of the world, and the set design was such that the dancers were just interpreting mechanical movements without emotions, really working, just delivering the choreography produced by the software like machines would, yeah, or like the robot does, yeah. And they was like a conveyor belt around of the stage, you know, just with light, and the dancers would feed into the zone in the middle and deliver the movements, just like when one presses the play button on a robot and it starts moving. Yeah. And then, so the machine, the robot itself, I wanted in opposition to the dancers showing no emotions, no feelings, just like machines dancing. I wanted to humanize the robot by making it, I made the choreography by hand, you know, not the software. So I choreograph all the movements that it has a certain elegance, and then based on aesthetic principle alone. And then we placed a light on the head of the robot, you know, and a camera to make it look more like a cyclops, no more to make it more alive, and as if it is not a robot but a living being. Yeah. So the dancers would just execute movements mechanically, and the robot would execute a very elegant, aesthetically choreography. Yeah. So in order to create this avatar, we had it's very limiting to work with to choreograph a robot with only if you see here 5 elements. That means there are only 5 articulations that you can manipulate, whereas in a human body it's just infinite, the number of articulations that you can work with. Yeah? So so they created, the Robot Lab created the avatar exactly with the same angle of rotations of the articulations as the KUKA robot. And then I'm going to show you the steps. I hope it's not going to become too technical, but it's interesting to see how we worked with the robot, yeah, to choreograph it. And this is the choreography I developed for one. It was 2 robots that we placed on stage, and then this was the choreography for one. Okay, and then we created this all the choreography actually by email. We didn't actually meet. We just met once in Karlsruhe to talk about it, and the rest of the work was done. I was in Zurich, and they were in Karlsruhe. And then they fed the choreography that I created with the software directly into the robot, and then we did the testing there. And this is how it, these were the first tests that we did of how the choreography of the robot could look like. So as you can see, it was just very abstract, plain working with the movement possibilities of the machine. And this is how eventually, I wonder, okay. Yeah. Okay, then the next step was I wanted to map exactly the movements I had choreographed with the robot on the human body itself. You know, so this was the first attempt at mapping the 5 articulations of the robot to 5 articulations of the body, and this in the software to create the choreography of the dancers. Yeah, so I wanted to create the choreographies of the dancers or the robot, that the robot choreographs the dancer's body. Yeah? But then, as you can see, it was just impossible that a dancer could do this. So I had to get rid, because most of these movements, a human body cannot do it. So I had to get rid of the feet, of the legs choreography, and just concentrate on the torso and arms, neck and head movements. Yeah, just like the robot. The robot that didn't have, the KUKA robot doesn't have legs, so I got rid of the leg section of the choreography for the robot, and this is what it looked like. So again, very complex movements that me as a choreographer wouldn't be able to come up with such movements with my own body. And then the dancers learned this choreography, and this is how it looked like. And then I just contemplated the choreography of the dancers in the last scene, which was about 50 minutes, with that of the robot. So this is a performance in Korea, in Seoul in 2002. And at the end, the robots actually stole the show, because we were working in the theater. We were working in the theater a couple of days before the show, and the theater was completely empty when I was working with the dancers. As soon as the robot came in a box from Germany, arrived, and they took the robot out of the box, the whole theater was full of technicians and people who were only interested in the robot, but not on the dancers themselves. Okay, yes. Now I'm gonna go to the second work with the robot, and this was very different, because this was not working with a robot that was already there, like a KUKA robot, but designing a robot from scratch. And this was was a commission that I did to Louis-Philippe Demers to create the robot. And after Zone in 2001, I decided I wanted to do a trilogy of works, in which the last the epilogue of this work of this trilogy, I had always the idea it should be a robot alone on the stage, yeah, like a replacement of the human yeah. So I started with the trilogy in 2002, and in 2005 I managed to choreograph the last piece of this trilogy called Fabrica. The whole trilogy was called De Humani Corporis Fabrica, based on the Andreas Vesalius anatomical book in the medieval times, and dealing with the human body. And by 2005, I approached Louis-Philippe and asked him if he could do a robot, and then we started thinking how it could be, and we came to the conclusion. My conditions was that the robot should not be on sharing the stage, the floor of the dancers, like it was the case with the KUKA robot. You know, that there was no that the dancers didn't have to start moving a robot around or dancing to the robot or depending on the robot, you know, that the robot would be the epilogue, not the center point of the piece. So he created a machine which was hanging with 9 articulations that one could manipulate. It was already better than the KUKA robot who only had 5 articulations. And then that I could play this robot like one would play a pianoforte, no, with the tastature. I could play all the articulations rhythmically, and then eventually after Fabrica, which the robot had a small appearance at the end of the piece, of the 1-hour piece. Then I was commissioned by Tesla in Berlin and Transmediale to actually create a choreography for the robot alone. So again, the robot stole the show. The Transmediale Berlin didn't wanted my works with dancers, but they wanted my work with robots. Yeah. So
sorry. We have not a lot of time.
Yes, I'm finishing. Yeah.
2 minutes, it's okay for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is just to show it came from the prototypes that we were thinking of, and then this was eventually. Well, I'll just show the installation setting, which was I developed an installation in which the robot reacts to the proximity of persons, so that it was interacting with it, and to create the ambivalence that the robot is an organic being with all the sounds of a jungle around, you know, and that the audience could react to the robot, you know, to create the ambivalence that it's an organic, intelligent mechanism. And this work with robots at the end led that after that I worked with dancers. I think there were mechanisms, you know, very cold, very cold mechanics and humans. Yeah? And this piece was Chris was actually in this piece participated with the sound interaction, and then. And the theme of all these pieces were that they were interpreting androids on stage, inspired on films like Blade Runner and 2046 of Wong Kar-hai, interpreting androids who, you know, asking the question whether eventually the machines can actually grow feelings or achieve consciousness, yeah, and empathy. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To all of you. And we don't have much time, but I'd like to ask first a very broad questions to all of you. In all your works, it seems to me that there is a very strong dialectics between freedom and constraint. And this is something that we can find in different levels, at the creative level, during the processes, which are the constraints that the machines, that the artificial agents pose to you. And then on stage, during the performances, there is this dialectics again between the different degrees of freedom which can be given to the performers or to the audience in front of the, playing with in partnership with the machine. So I would like to ask you if you can reflect with us about this question of the constraint, creative constraint, and freedom in these works.
Can I just give you a little remark to that in terms of which objects or machines we are working actually? I think there's a huge difference if also in the work which I saw with Pablo, if you work with an industrial or you create your own environment, you create your own robot. And I think this is also something usually people don't really see the huge difference. But if we as artists trying to really create our environment or sculpt a robotic creature or an object, the constraints are completely different because we are actually the object themselves. We are manifesting our ideas into it, and we are confronted with the industrial standards of a mechanical work machine, which is actually not made for a stage. Something I just wanted to point out, that this makes a huge difference for me working with a robot or with robotic systems we are creating as artists, as sculptures, or as environments. In my case, it's an immersive environment. I was not really into mechanical movement because it was also dangerous to invite the audience into it. As Martin also suggested, there's huge safety issues. Even with my little lights, I put helmets on the heads of the audience, also for color tracking, position tracking. So I made the bug to the feature. But actually, if you start into robotic movements and safety issues, you can't articulate yourself anymore. So I'm trying to get around that in different ways. So this is a big point, actually.
Sorry, Thierry?
Yes, as soon you work with machines or AI, you have big restraints, but you have to deal with that. You have to start from that. And for example, you have to talk in front of a robot to have an answer. So it's built your space, it built your way of talking, of telling a story, like Martin did with his KUKA, it's robot. He's playing with the machine. So it's writing with the machine. And we know in art that restraints are always a door for freedom. So it's this restraint is a door to new expression, new way of talking, new way of finding solutions.
Martin?
Yes, I would directly add to Thierry and also to Chris. First of all, totally agree with Chris with the safety, and also Thierry, you pointed it out really well. The best metaphor we could find is this: in the past, you had the lion tamer and the lion in the circus, and the lion is as dangerous as the robot is now to us, because if you're like uncertain in 1 second, the robot is going to kill you. It literally will, because the machine is programmed, it goes from A to B, and if you're standing in between that path, it's going to take you with you, or it's even going to split you. But like in the circus, we are willing to take the risk, and I think therefore also robots and the circus have maybe the best relation. Person on the high wire also takes a lot of risk, and as Chris pointed it out, we're creating our own environment, and still we are creating a problem. And I always teach circus, actually you create a problem. You hang a rope in the ceiling, and then you have to climb it. If you don't hang the rope, you don't have to climb it. And then you can climb the rope, you need to find a way to come down again. So it's always problem solution. And with robotics, you don't come in a progressive way. You don't have stairs, you have a million of problems, literally a million of problems. The weight, the electricity, the danger, the programming. Programming 1 minute takes 1 hour. You all know that. And the blessing I have is that I'm in 2 days, I'm going to be in Cirque du Soleil, and I'm on the robot in one scene, and I say stop, because we have a teaching system. And then I can shout down to the programmer, line 196, please change the velocity VJ to 15 from 10. And he's saying what? And I say, just do it, because I'm in the matrix. I programmed it myself. So I know where I am as a performer on the machine. And that's a bit like if you design a car, somebody never has seen a car, and you're building this apparatus yourself, and then you learn to drive it. That's what we did in a way. And now I'm the human with the most time spent on an industrial robot on a robot. And that is just proven. And the guys from Yaskawa, they came and they said, like when they meet me, they're scared of me. And they invited 2 professors from Japan. They were reading out the whole show that you just saw with encoders to make sure the machine doesn't break. They didn't care about me. They cared about, is the robot going to hold every position where it goes through? Is one axis or one joint maybe going to break or being an overload position because of my dynamic force? And if they realized, no, it's not, they were like, okay, the robot is fine. You can go on. So the creative constraint is actually that I think the boundaries are so big and so beautiful that as an artist, that is exactly where it shows. Like that is for me what makes the artist to work in limitations and not to think that by putting a robot you open up everything. No, that's not going to happen.
Pablo, do you want to?
Yeah, I totally agree with Thierry that the restrictions that a robot puts on oneself or anything opens up other vistas. I mean, I couldn't conceive myself that I would have been creating the last productions in the same way if I had the total freedom just to choreograph what I wanted. But on the contrary, the restrictions of the robot taught me to less is more. That to restrict the movements to the minimum, and one creates an enormous intensity like that of a robot. Yeah, and in the first place, the software for choreography was in the first place an enormous restriction in this respect, which opened a whole palette of possibilities that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think it's time to open the questions of the audience. If you have any questions, please raise your hand.
I would have the question to Thierry, actually. We've seen lots of examples here, also my own ones working with dance, and also the first ones with drama and text, with AI. But Thierry, you said something, you're working with the next piece is with 4 musicians on stage, also with kind of a robotic or AI system. So we didn't talk about music. Maybe you can elaborate a little about the way how you interact with musicians on stage with robotics or AI.
Yeah, I work with a French composer called Laurent Duru, which came from IRCAM, and all the music is driven by computers. But you have on stage 4 musicians, flute, cello, keyboards, and drums, which are sending twigs to start sound and sequences.
Connected. The live musicians, the live people are executing computer-based music. Is that right?
Sometimes, but not only. It's also, it's all sorts of sounds. You twigs to start sequences connected with the actions on stage. So it could be a normal classic sound. It could be a completely destroy sound. It depends on the treatment the composer put on the music.
Okay, thank you.
And everything in that opera, everything is twigged by the music. Means videos, robots, and all the calculation on stage, all the processes are led by the music.
Okay, any other questions? Maybe just last questions about this collaboration with scientists, with engineers, how it is organized on the communication level, for example. It is difficult to collaborate with engineers, for example, or with scientists, with researchers.
I think Martin made a good suggestion that at the end he has to learn himself. So I think my collaboration experience was working with experts, no matter if they are programmers or scientists, is you learn as an artist your own gray zone or overlapping field to shift into their field, and they're trying to understand what your artistic intentions are to use their technology or their software. I think this is the future also for me as artist researchers. It's not about artistic research, it's about how artists also train themselves to learn like scientists in a way to express themselves. And the other way around. So that's actually the long-term goal of science and art collaborations, that both worlds are learning from each other. But definitely, that's what I said with industrial products. I think I have a problem with using just objects or industrial products, because the target or the, I would say, expression level of these technologies are always targeted to another direction. So we have to alter the vector of the use of technology. But in KUKA or these famous robots, it makes sense because they are actually open machines which could be programmed to do something specific. They're not made for doing, like a car is only driving from A to B. So you can't make a car like a robot do something artistic in a way. But anyway, I think this is a long discussion here.
Yes, absolutely. I think, as Martin said, for the safety question, it's very important, the good communication.
Yeah, I just would like to add to Chris. I have met a hacker actually who can hack the systems of KUKA, ABB, and Yaskawa robots and can override parameters. They proposed this to us at a certain point because, for example, these axis movements, they're limited to certain safety ranges of the machine. For example, it can only do 3 turns. And I was always annoyed that it could only do 3 turns because I wanted to do 5. And then this hacker came and said, yeah, we can override, it's no problem. But then the robot will have a position loss. It will not be able to overcome the pulse rate. Anyway, long story short, as a human, you can go out of your boundaries. And you can also do this with machines until a certain point. And the problem with the communication of a technician is that a technician will work very efficient, and the robot is made to go from A to B as short as possible. In the pig factory, they showed us videos. It can slice 30,000 pigs a day. 30,000 pigs. That's how we manage to keep our meat consumption. And now the robot does it with two knives. So it looks like a butcher did it. It's as sad as it sounds. And in circus, in movement, in art, what we're looking for is inefficiency. And that's also what I observed in the dance project. The problem was the person who programmed the robot was programming from A to B. But actually what we do, we are programming not in move joint, we're programming linear motions, and we're changing the tool point. So we are making the robot move inefficient in itself. So it's not doing the most direct way. We're actually teaching many points in between. So the robot is very, very slow, very inefficient in movement. And that makes it organic, because that's what we humans are. We are actually, we are limited to the 6 joints, or maybe we have 100 joints. But Chris also said the legs, or Pablo also found this out. We are not as limited as a robot, but we need to use all the joints of the machine to make it more organic. And that goes to inefficiency. And if you work with a technician, you cannot enter that universe, because for them it's the shortest code, the fastest, quickest route. And that is what I observed.
Okay, maybe the last observation of Thierry.
I can say that to work together, artists and scientists, we need time. A lot of time to understand each other. We are in different planets, you know. We are not the same skills. We are not the same engines to find an idea and to realize it. So we need really time. And when we have time, maybe we can arrive to understand each other and to build something which is really share. Not using the technician to do an artistic program, but to share something really.
Okay, I think we can close our roundtable. Thank you very much for these really impressive presentations and for sharing with us your experiences. Thank you very much for the audience, for the participants. So our day today finish now, and we will see tomorrow, but at 2 p.m. No, 2:30 tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.